The year is 1994. We have just seen a rough cut of the film known as Star Trek Generations. Whew, we're going to fix it for you. Cue the intro.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mirror Movie Universe podcast. My name's Nate, and I'm one half of the hosts of this shindig of a show. And across the aisle and across the country from me is my brother Dan. Say hello, Dan.
Hello, everybody. You know, it's fitting since this is Generations. One of us has to be Kirk, and the other one has to be Picard. But which is which?
I'm Picard.
Okay, I'm fine with that. I can be Kirk.
No, just merely for the convention that you're the older brother by a good amount. I feel like you're Kirk and I'm Picard.
That's all right. I'll take it.
No, that's fine with me. If Kirk is 80 years older than Picard, you're 8 years older than me, so we'll go with that convention.
Yep.
But what we're talking about Kirk and Picard today because we're talking about Star Trek Generations, or as it's alternately known, the one where the two guys meet from the two different TV shows. In order to talk about what we like and what we'd fix about it, we got to talk about what happens in Star Trek Generations. So this film opens at the end of the series of Star Trek films that we've already talked about. It opens with the christening of a new USS Enterprise, the Enterprise-B, which we've never seen before, and it's captained by Cameron from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And Captain Kirk is there to say some words at the ceremony and all of this good stuff, and send it off. They're going to do a little shakedown cruise, fly around Pluto. Not anything is installed on the ship yet. The tractor beam and phasers and photon torpedoes and medical staff are all coming next Tuesday. Tuesday. Let me guess, Tuesday, which is why Dan and I always host our stuff on Tuesdays. It's a reference to this film. They pick up some kind of energy ribbon Nexus thing outside the solar system and go to investigate, and say it with me, everyone, they're the only ship in range. And
they're the only ship in range. I was close.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a couple of civilian ships that are in the pull of this Nexus thing, and they're going to get destroyed. And the only way that they can get these ships out of here is to do something with the ship and the beam shoots or whatever. And Captain Kirk is like, I'll take care of it. And he goes down to engineering to fix it. There's no one else there. And the energy ribbon in space blasts the Enterprise and takes out the entire deck that Kirk is on. Chekhov and Scotty are there too, and realize that Captain Kirk, at least to them, is dead. And that's how the film opens. We kill off Captain Kirk. Shifts to 80 years later.
We should mention one of the refugees from the ships that was saved.
Oh, yes.
Turns around and it is Guinan, played by Whoopi Goldberg. Yeah.
From Next Generation. And another refugee from the ship that was saved is a guy played by Malcolm McDowell, who we don't learn until later is named Soren. And he's going to be the villain of this particular film. The Enterprise is in the future, 80 years later. The Enterprise-D at this point is captained by Captain Picard and his group of crewmates, and we'll follow them for the rest of the Next Generation series. But they're hanging out on the Enterprise doing some holodeck shenanigans. Data, the android on the ship, who has never had emotion before, is kind of conflicted over whether or not he should turn on this emotion chip in his brain that lets him feel things. The Enterprise is called to a station that's been attacked or some such thing, and discovers Dr. Soren and his research. And it turns out he's hundreds of years old, but he's an alien, and that's fine. And he apparently is trying to get that energy ribbon to re-engulf him so he can go back to it. But wasn't it killing everyone? Didn't it kill Captain Kirk earlier? Well, like Dan said, one of the refugees from earlier was Guinan, who is the bartender in 10 Forward on the new Enterprise-D, who is also hundreds of years old. She met Mark Twain in the Star Trek series. And she tells Picard about this energy ribbon. It's called the Nexus, and it's basically heaven. If you get inside of it, it'll grant all of your wishes, and you can exist outside the plane of existence and go anywhere, anytime, and do anything. So there's a plan that Soren has to alter the path of this energy ribbon through space, because it just kind of meanders around. if he blows up a couple of stars, he will alter the path of the energy ribbon to come to him so he can get up into it. He blows up a star and the Enterprise nearly escapes. And his plan is to blow up another one in an inhabited system of a couple 100 million people, I think. And they go to stop him. Data has wrestled with all of his emotions along the way. He's sort of found himself. He had a moment of cowardice where he was unable to stop Geordi LaForge, who's the ship's engineer, from being captured. And Soren and Geordi LaForge are on this Klingon ship led by the Duras sisters, who were another couple of minor villains from the series. And they're orbiting this planet. The Enterprise gets into a fight with them. Picard goes down to the planet. They blow up the Klingons, but the Enterprise sustains some significant damage at this time, and it crashes onto the planet that Picard and Soren are on. Soren fires a rocket into the star, and it blows up. They fail. It blows up, wipes out all the planets in the system, including the one they're on, which means that everyone on the Enterprise, which is just crashed when Data says, "Oh, S-word," they all die. And then Picard wakes up inside the Nexus because the energy ribbon successfully came to the planet. And he wants to go back and fight Soren and make things right. He meets Nexus Whoopi Goldberg, who is somehow still there, despite the fact that she has died on the Enterprise, because the Nexus exists outside time. And she tells him that he can go anywhere, anytime, and leave of his own volition. He's tempted with, a family, because there's a subplot where his family died. That, it doesn't really mean that much. It didn't even make it to this part of the recap. So it's whatever. He runs into, in the Nexus, to help him out, because he's like, I need assistance. He runs into Captain Kirk, who is not dead from the opening scene. He's in the Nexus. He's just in a house chopping wood. And he's, instead of being tempted with a family, he's tempted with a life with his lover, Antonia, I think her name is, because he was going to go back to Starfleet and, didn't want to leave her or something like that. Picard convinces him to leave this fantasy and come back with him to stop Soren. They fight Soren on this desert world. They stop the rocket from flying into the sun because they've gone a little bit back in time, and they are successful. The Enterprise still crashes, but everyone is still alive. And Kirk is the only casualty of this thing. He dies in a very dramatic scene.
That's what he does. He goes, "Oh my."
Yeah, because it's William Shatner.
Yeah.
He dies in a quite a dramatic scene, and we get sort of a mourning scene for the Enterprise as well. And they beam up, and that's the end of Star Trek Generations. A lot of stuff happens. Some minor time travel, some alternate planes of existence stuff going on, multiple timelines. It's kind of a muddled mess. I rather enjoy it still, but it's kind of a muddled mess. What do you like about it, though, Dan? What do you like about Star Trek Generations?
So I do think that this film is fun at times. That, like you said, totally a muddled mess. Yeah. But there are some things that I really do enjoy. I think all of the guest stars in it are great. You said Alan Ruck, of course, Cameron from Ferris Bueller's Day Off is fantastic as the captain of the Enterprise-B. Malcolm McDowell is a great villain. I mean, hats off to him for Soren. I love seeing Kirk in this movie with Picard. That's a really nice touch. We've seen Scotty in the series. We've seen Spock in the series. We've seen McCoy. All of them were on The Next Generation at one point. We've seen Sulu on Voyager, but we have not seen Kirk. And it's really nice to see him do this. There's some really sweet moments too throughout it, like the opening scene where Sulu's daughter is flying the Enterprise-B, and they're like, well, at least there's a Sulu behind the helm. That's a really sweet moment. The ship the opening when they're on the water in the holodeck for the Enterprise-D, that's really fun. Worf is like getting a promotion or something, and that's really, really sweet. Data getting the emotion. I think there are some sweet moments with it.
There's a nice bit at the end. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No,
there's a nice bit at the end when he finds his cat.
Yes.
who has survived his cat named Spot, who's survived the Enterprise crashing, and he realized that he realizes he's crying tears of joy, and it's quite nice.
It's
But
that's a really beautiful moment.
Mhm.
I I think that there are some really great moments in it. It feels very much like an episode of The Next Generation, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I love The Next Generation. It's my favorite Star
Mhm.
Trek series. And so this feels very much like that. It also very much feels like it's not doing anything except setting up the next run of Next Generation movies. They're
Mhm.
like, well, let's blow up the ship so we can get a new one. Let's have the old Kirk come and send them off. Um, but anyway, those are those. I went a little past my loves. What do you like about it, Nate?
Okay, I like a couple of things about this movie. I really liked it when I was a kid, and in large part, what I like about it now is what I liked about it when I was a kid. It's the perfect intro. It's not the perfect intro, but it's a really good intro to the Next Generation crew. And I say that as someone who did not see the Next Generation as a kid, a little kid at least. I saw this movie, and this was my introduction to these characters.
Oh,
And um, it does some of them some disservice. I didn't really know like who, especially as the women, the female parts are a little underwritten, so I didn't really know who Troy and Crusher were. um Picard's intro on an old sailing ship and him waxing poetic about like, isn't this great? We used to have nothing but the stars to guide us. And Riker is standing next to him and he's like, yeah, and there were no women on these ships. Like that, it's if you know these characters, it makes a lot of sense.
yeah.
And Worf's promotion is great. Data, an intro to Data as a little kid with the emotion. Like, oh, okay, that works fine. And Jordy's got some stuff to do too, so that's nice. I love the soundtrack to this film. It feels very atmospheric, very ethereal. It's the same composer that did like all the other ones, but it's my favorite one. But I think mostly it functions really good as a hard cutoff for old and new. They could have really easily done a big time travel plot where the entire crew of Next Gen meets the entire crew, that would work for scale, from the original thing, and they have to stop some crisis together or whatever. But they're quite restrained with it, and the only character that bridges that gap is Kirk. Talking to Picard, they've got Sulu and Scotty, but they're hard cut off. They don't show up in Generations at all. It contradicts a thing from Next Generation, because Scotty doesn't know that Kirk is dead, and when he shows up in a Next Generation episode, but it's fine. It's a pretty good cutoff. But yeah, that's what I like about Generations. I had a really good time with it as a kid, so I don't hate it as much as everyone else does.
No.
But it's still fixable.
Yeah.
Dan, what would you fix about Star Trek Generations?
So interestingly, Ronald D. Moore, who is the executive producer of Next
God bless.
Generation,
God
went on
bless.
to do Battlestar Galactica, just friggin'
Mhm.
amazing.
Yes.
He said that the best idea for this movie was done in an episode already, and that would be Yesterday's Enterprise,
Oh,
where
yes.
they meet the old Enterprise, and you do get more interaction between the crews, and then you know that the old crew is going to go off and sacrifice themselves for this different future.
Yep.
Great episode.
Yes.
I do think I agree with what you're saying here. Like, it's really nice that it's just Kirk. Originally,
Yeah.
this is just a bit of trivia. They wrote those three main characters into the movie. So it was originally going to be Kirk, Spock, and Bones on the Enterprise-B, and then they were replaced. Like Nimoy and Kelly didn't want to come back. They were replaced with Scotty and Chekhov, and it's especially egregious because they didn't rewrite any dialogue. And so Chekhov at one point says to the reporters, "You and you're going to be nurses. Come with me."
Yeah.
Which is
there's
so
also
weird.
There's also a very Spock moment given to Scotty when Captain Kirk keeps standing up to say something when the other captain is messing up. And Scotty is like, "Captain, is there something wrong with your chair?" Like, that's a very Spock
It's
thing
a very
to say.
Spock moment.
Yeah.
They just didn't rewrite it. So I thought about doing that, changing that, just making them rewrite some dialogue. But I thought, no, it's fine. It's just a little nitpicky. So my fix for this is some fancy editing. And the interview, or the idea for it, came from an interview that I saw when Marina Sirtis, who plays Counselor Troy, was promoting the film, and she's talking about how excited she was that Counselor Troy gets to drive the ship. She says, we've seen other people drive the ship. Geordi's driven it, Worf's driven it, Riker. She's never driven the ship. And basically all she does is crash. Like, she gets in the chair, it crashes, right?
That's true. That's true. It's not her fault, though.
No.
Like, yeah.
But she doesn't do anything especially heroic either.
No.
And so
she never does in any of these movies.
No.
Like, all of them write her terribly. So, yeah.
We'll talk about them more as we get into them. But I want to give her a moment here. And I was thinking about the destruction of the Enterprise here compared to the search for Spock. We talked about in the search for Spock, it's a moment of victory, not defeat. This is total defeat. The Klingons just find a way to get through their shields and blow the smithereens.
Yeah.
So what I want to do is change that up a little bit. The Klingons can still damage them, but they shoot back, blow them up. And then what I want to do is have Picard and Kirk fail the second time around. Okay, so the rocket gets launched. They still beat Soren, whatever. Kirk dies. That all plays out the same, but the rocket launches. Troy sees it. Data's the other one at the helm, is frozen with emotion. Troy, beep, 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 moves the Enterprise in front of the rocket, turns to Riker and says, there was no other way. And he says, all hands, brace for impact. And the rocket is what hits the ship. You still have everything else play out the same way. You still have everybody evacuate to the saucer. You still have Geordi roll under the door and everything. You get all of that the same way. Yeah. But they do it to stop the rocket. But they do everybody.
They do a Secret Service jump in front of the bullet for the president kind of thing.
100%. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. No, I like this. It would be hard to technobabble it, because it's a rocket that destroys a star, right? And if it only damages half the ship, that's but it's fine. I can live with the technobabble. Like, there's already so much technobabble crap in the fight already. It's like, plasma coil on a D12 bird of prey is susceptible to some sort of ionic pulse. Sure, whatever. You could write some fun technobabble with that, but you're like, yeah. They'll just reverse the polarity. They always just reverse the polarity, and it's fine.
Reverse the polarity.
Man. Yeah. Okay. No, I like that you're giving Troy something to do. It's either, Troy or Crusher. Crusher gives like one person an injection during the evacuation scene. And that's like all she does. Like it's not. And when they get Geordi back, she's like, you're fine, and like she misses that his visor is like tampered with or something.
Yeah, like broadcasting HD video to the Klingons.
Yeah, it's out of all of the characters that you could conceivably give extra stuff to, Troy, that I think is in the best position to like move one chess piece on the board and affect some meaningful change.
Although now that we've said this, oh man, maybe I should hear your fix, because my brain is just racing. Like, you talked about how Picard is like, his family dies and he doesn't really process it until he gets to the Nexus. There's a counselor on the ship.
Yes.
And Dr. Crusher is, for all intents and purposes, like his work wife. Like, he has a better relationship with her than anyone else. And he doesn't open up to either of them about it. Like,
he has a moment with Troy, because his like whole family burns to death or something. And he just like tells her about it. But she, to my memory, doesn't say much meaningful stuff. The dialogue is not very strong there. So I'd still give that to Troy. Give her something heroic. And because in most episodes of the series too, like, she's just sitting on the bridge being like, they're like fighting Cardassians or whatever, like hurling photon torpedoes or whatever, and she's like, I'm sensing hostility, and you're like, yeah, I think of course so.
You are.
That makes a lot of sense. Give her something to do. Like, give her something like heroic to do, because she doesn't get it. Like, that character does not get it enough. I like it.
Well, thank you. I always like when you like my stuff. But I'm curious, Nate, what are you going to do to fix Star Trek Generations?
I feel almost guilty because I did not give an underwritten character an extra moment. That's why I like yours. I instead focused on someone that I'm very biased towards. And this is the same with original series stuff. Favorite original character is Spock. Favorite next gen character is Data. I mean, it just is. Because I was a kid who didn't really understand social stuff, and so
Well, Spock and Data are also like the same character. So
oh yeah, and when they meet in the show, it's like one of my favorite episodes. Well, it's a two-parter, but whatever. Data in this movie gets emotion. That's great. Data in this movie just puts in or turns on a chip. That's not great. Because it kind of, I don't remember if it shows up at any point in the series, but for 7 years, he has been trying to understand humanity and learn emotion and figure it out. And there's a bunch of little really sweet moments where he gets something for the first time, like he's in a relationship for the first time, or like Q lets him laugh once just to be nice, and it's wonderful.
Or his daughter. The whole episode with his daughter is just beautiful.
So yeah, there is also an episode of the series where he has a dream about his creator, more or less, and it feels very spiritual for his existence as basically a robot. And the fact that he's had a chip this whole time that gives him emotion, not for me. So I would change it to either he gets that at some point in the film, or he I don't know, he'd have to get it at some point in the film, and he's very worried about using it for the first time or something like that. He has to get it for the first time. He can't have had it the entire thing, otherwise all of this character development, which is great, is flushed. So make, like, there's a bunch of dead Romulans on the station. Make the Romulans have it. He picks it up, he puts it in, and then in the firefight, he immediately is overcome with emotion. He shuts it off again. Or make Soren like related to Dr. Noonien Singh or something like that, who created Data, or something of the kind. Shoot like a little insert scene where he finds it and Geordi's like, oh, that looks like a positronic whatever, and Data is like, oh, it may give me whatever, and he puts it in. It'll be awkward written in, but the existing scene is already awkward. He's just talking to Geordi.
Yeah, and he like pulls it out of his arm. He's just like, what?
Here you go.
Yeah.
And Geordi's like, I thought you were worried about it doing something to your brain. And Data's like, well, I kicked, Dr. Crusher off of a holographic ship earlier, so it's time to put it in. And it's like, it's very clunky. Yeah, no, I like yours better though, because it does give, a better position to one of these characters that's not so developed. Data's not, this movie is half about him, and I'm changing something about that. But
what you're doing though is smart, because it's part of the movie, but it's been built towards for 7 years that he doesn't have emotion. He's trying to get it. It's really like the only ongoing plot in the Next Generation series at all is Data and his emotion and his struggle to become more human. So to have that, like you said, be resolved so quickly and easily seems like such a cop-out. And it would be nothing to take a 5-minute scene, find some piece of technology, like you said, on the station, find something that would show him that. You can even have a little thing with Geordi and Crusher. Geordi and Crusher are working on it together or something. Give Crusher a little moment to be like, I think we can actually make him feel emotion, not just feel pain or something. And Geordi's like, oh man, okay, cool, let's take it to him or something. Give that a little bit more room to breathe and develop.
Yeah. You could even integrate this with Troy, because like I said, around the audience is going to notice a terrible edit when my camera died, but around that time I was talking about a dream that Data had in the Next Generation, where he dreams about his creator, and it like I said, it's really spiritual. It would be really fascinating if Troy could sense his emotions and says so after he has this thing from Dr. Noonien Sung And it would put to bed without a doubt the kinds of questions that we, that people ask about him, like, is he a real person or is he just a machine? Maybe like he has a soul, or maybe, you have a moment at the end of the movie where, that, chip just like is a placebo or something, and he's had the soul all along. Whatever, pick your moment. But if
he's like the Tin Man, you've had a heart all along. Aw,
he is the Tin Man, but that's the whole point.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, yeah. Well, we could give Troy a moment too. We could give Crusher a moment with him, but I don't like that he just had the. I don't like that he had the ability to go home the entire time, Dorothy, because it doesn't fit. But yeah, that's just what I think.
Yeah. I love that.
Okay.
All right, audience, what do you think? Do you think that we need to have Troy have a heroic moment, fly the ship in front of the rocket, which can blow up a sun? Or do you think that Data's emotion chip is a little contrived and we need to do something more with that, either finding it or having him be the Tin Man with the ability, with the heart the whole time?
Yes.
Please sound off in the comments in the thing. Like, comment, subscribe. We're going to be doing all of the Next Generation films, so that'll be super fun. And yeah, we hope that this finds you well, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.